Jim Butcher just sat down for a 6-hour interview with the New York Times, and I read through it, and of course, I kind of summarized what they had. They actually didn't give much of quotes of him or show anything like that. They just kind of made their own narrative summary, which was kind of annoying. There's one part of it where they did get a little weird and political at the end, which I'll show you guys in just a second. But this is a really sad story about Jim Butcher and just like depression and I guess feeling like he was overwhelmed at a lot of points. I'm seeing so much of this, especially with men in the culture, and it's because men are being so disregarded in the culture, and the culture is just set up against men at this point. This is just another harrowing story of this, and Jim Butcher's a great guy. I'll share my personal story. I've had very little interaction with him, but I do have one interaction, which is memorable and kind of kept me going in this career as a writer, or not, because I was, so inspired by it. It was a brief thing. He didn't have to do it, and I'll talk about that a little later in the video. But this is a big deal, and yes, we love Jim Butcher here. His Dresden Files books are the best. I actually, if you've not read outside the Dresden Files, my favorite books of his are the Cinder Spires, the Aeronauts Windlass, and so good. I really wish he would have done more of this stuff. And if you do watch this, Jim Butcher, please make another book out of this. This is one that like really, obviously probably not as successful as the Dresden Files, so business-wise, I get it. But this is fun swashbuckling adventure in like a steampunk deal, which is exactly what I want out of fiction all the time. So that's one I do have to note. And please hit the like and subscribe button before we get into this story. I'm a steampunk writer myself. If you guys have been around the channel, you've seen my series, The Adventures of Baron von Monocle. If you like the Aeronauts Windlass, I think you'll really, really enjoy this as well. I got that quick, fast-paced sort of deal that Jim Butcher has in his writing. Super inspirational to me as an author. This is a 6-book series, and it is an airship, swashbuckling adventure, high action, really good stuff. So check it out. It's in the description below. Thank you guys for supporting independent arts. Like I said, it's hard a lot of times as an independent author doing things out here without any sort of marketing from any other machines or anything like that. I have to do it myself here and get you guys one reader at a time. And I really appreciate you guys being here. It's been picking up like a lot of discussion about the books lately, which is really awesome. And this is in the description below. It is available on ebook, print, and audio. And of course, actually all the books in the series are available in all those formats to make it easy for you. Thanks for the support. All right. So let's get into Jim Butcher and everything that's gone on here. So if you don't know who he is by some crazy random happenstance, he wrote a series called The Dresden Files, and it is like a cult detective, and he's got a very like the main character is a little comic booky in nature, which is why he's successful. It has that kind of like Spider-Man quippiness to him, which is very relatable, and everybody really related to that a lot. And of course, the settings and the horror that he evoked in those settings, really, really good all the way around. There was a tabletop RPG that was developed of it some years back, and actually it's one of the better RPGs out there based on any properties if you've never played that one too. And so just obscenely talented guy. Now, the New York Times article that talked about him actually went into how he got his writing and all that, and I've never researched into him. I've just enjoyed his books. So I didn't know any of this. This might be old news to you, but apparently he was 25 years old in a creative writing class and turned in like this half-done deal, and the teacher was like, "Can you do more?" And he finished it and did a outline for a 20-book series based on this, and that became the Dresden Files. And from there, like it's just like his innate talent just like shone so hard that he got picked up and became one of the biggest authors out there. He's sold more than 14 million books now. And the pressures of fame have of course taken tolls over the years, and so I learned through this, and this is I did not know this until reading this article, that he's suffered through a lot of depression over the last several years, and it got really, really dark at some points, which we're going to get into in just a second. This is serious stuff, and like I said, I know a lot of men are suffering from this type of things. I have a pretty good group over in our Discord, and from time to time, people get really, really down, really, really black-pilled. And we have to work as men to lift each other up and make sure that everybody's the rising tide lifts all boats. And I try to do that. So shout out to the Discord out there. We're here for you, and I'm glad. I obviously got a family. I work really hard, but I do as much as I can for everybody who's involved in part of the community. And Jim Butcher's very much the same. And so he had a big issue I guess he was struggling with some personal things. Maybe a divorce was going on, according to the New York Times. It's unclear as to the timeline. They really didn't give. They made it very nebulous in what they were talking about. But those type of things happen a lot, and like our society's gotten really terrible. Divorce on demand is a horrific thing. When you get married, when you do this, like, I mean, these women are now encouraged to just go find themselves, later on. And, you get somebody like Jim Butcher, who's obviously providing for the family, doing very well. He had two young boys, and, it's an ugly, ugly thing that this is allowed in our society when, it leads to societal instability for sure. So I would love to get rid of that aspect of our culture because I think it's terrible. And so who knows what the timing was, like I said, but at some point he mentions that he swallowed 2 bottles of pills and, was trying to off himself and ugly stuff, and said that, he miraculously didn't die and just felt really, really sick for about 36 hours and came back out of it. And, kind of like, at some point woke up, realized I got to live for at least my 2 sons, right? Can you imagine, like, having your father go through that? It's really, really rough stuff. So I didn't know it was that bad for him. And if you think about it, this is like, pressures of fame, pressures of deadlines, pressures of what's going on, because you have to just, like, have that hit after hit to stay relevant. It's a tough game. Like, writing books, trust me, I come out with books a few times a year. It's really it's a grind, and it wears on you a lot of times. You get very, very, very down a lot of times, and you get very, very burn out a lot of the time as well. And so, like, he's got a lot more success, obviously, but with a lot more success, there's obviously a lot more ups and downs also. So definitely feel for him on that level. Now, he actually connected with one of his fans, and one of his fans actually was having some suicidal issues as well. And they talked, and like the guy told Jim Butcher that, like, your books really saved my life, and that seemed to turn his attitude around here, which is great and so sweet of Jim Butcher to connect with a fan like that who's struggling. That's like, that is the testament of just a good man right here, and that's why I'm covering this, because this is a good man, and good men struggle, and so it's okay as a man if you are a good man who struggles. It's normal. It happens a lot. There's ways to get through it, and I've got some bigger messages that we need to deliver on this. But Jim Butcher delivered this message to the New York Times because, if somebody at that level selling 14 million books is going through that, the same thing you are, it's not that you're not a success. It's not that you're not valid. There's nothing like that going on in your life. That's an issue. It's just the way our modern society is set up. It really is. And so we have to rebel from that. We have to find our own purposes as men. It's very important. Now, before I get into, like, how to solve this, like the real solution here, my experience with Jim Butcher, like I said, I've read his books, really loved Cinder Spires. I was banned from the World Science Fiction Convention in 2018, and I was, I had just come out with my first Demon Country, my second book. It was a big success for me. That book sold about 35,000 copies. It's not Jim Butcher level, but that's really good. Most authors, believe it or not, never even sell. I'd say 90% of authors never even sell 100 copies of their book. It's that crazy. So God, thank you guys so much. I feel very blessed in having a huge success in that. And that they banned me because of my support of Donald Trump and being a vocal Christian in the spaces. And these left-wing activists who control these things are just terrible. They're terrible people who just want to destroy you. And this ties into the New York Times with Jim Butcher here, because they kind of throw a little shade at him from that left-wing perspective. And Jim Butcher's not like me. I'm very overtly political, and it's because I was forced to be. He's not. He's very much offline and doesn't wade into this stuff. But still, they go after you, and they go after you because you're a white male, right? And so this is where it's at, and they just try to seek and destroy. And it was a lot of pressure under me. It's years ago now, but being canceled on that level, having this absolute destruction, having all my friends in science fiction and publishing and the like completely block me, disavow me, and all that because they wanted a virtue signal to the in crowd, and you're feeling like you're alone. That's the social pressure they want to put on you all the time, and it was really, really tough. I got a message out of the blue from Jim Butcher saying, "Hey, I'm sorry for what they're doing to you. Anything I could do to help, let me know. Just keep strong." I don't remember exactly what the words were, but that was so inspiring, and I couldn't believe it. I was sitting there like, oh my gosh, all these people who are, these wannabe authors in these convention circuits, who sell 100 books, who have 10 followers, are all disavowing me for clout within this group, that's never gonna, for no reason, and they've known me for years, they've been friends, but now the politics is what's most important. And yet Jim Butcher, the biggest author in the field, just took the time to give me some words of encouragement. I mean, wow. Like I said, this guy is a great guy, and I remember that was so uplifting to me, and I don't know if he'll watch this video or whatever, but it kept me going. It definitely gave me a lot of strength, and I really appreciate that message. It was a big deal, and I hope he has a lot of strength now too. You got 2 great sons. You have a beautiful legacy right here. You got some great books ahead of you, and you also need to write more Cinder Spires books, Jim Butcher. Very important. But as he got into the New York Times thing at the end here, what he said is, I've talked to other young men who've had the same issues, and this is all kind of true. You're feeling overwhelmed. You need to make your world a bit smaller for a while. Set out some reasonable goals for yourself. Get up in the morning, get the bed made, get the kitchen cleaned up, make sure your house looks nice. And this is all true. My wife actually has this philosophy of she wants the house clean in the morning because it helps her feel good to work through the day. And I was never I'm never not an organized guy, and so before her, I was not in this spot where I'd be like that. But ever since our house has been just nice and beds made, kitchen's all cleaned up in the morning, I do feel better. I do want to work harder. It is a thing when you as a man complete a task, and and things are made beautiful and good. That is something that helps you as a man, and so you can just set reasonable goals for yourself, not crazy. You don't set goals I want to sell 1 million books this year, because it's how are you going to do that, right? Set a reasonable, rational goal. I want to finish writing my book this year, right? That kind of thing is things that you can control. And if you start focusing on that kind of thing and stop focusing about the noise around you and what people think and things like that, you do feel better about yourself. But there is more to this that needs to be done, because this is a very Jordan Peterson style philosophy, which is great on the surface of things, but you do need a bigger purpose outside of yourself as well. And this is what I said in my article on this, was the story's a harrowing one. While he's right in taking things one day at a time, setting reasonable goals, the real problem with the world has been the turning away from the real purpose to us given by our Lord Jesus Christ. To find true peace and purpose, one has to follow the truth first, and Jesus Christ set out the commandments to follow him and go out and make disciples of all nations. As the world increasingly tells people to focus on the material, on trifling things, those things that rarely bring us any sense of new joy or meaning, your collection, whatever, having a bigger house than your neighbors, all that stuff fades eventually. It never matters, right? And so those things are not eternal. They're just fleeting. They don't matter. But what brings you real sense of joy is actually doing something something bigger for yourself, for the kingdom of heaven, for actually helping other people. It's super important. And as America's become more secularized, these problems have become more regular. And so Pope Leo the 14th said in one of his first tweets as Pope just recently, he says, "Peace cannot be built apart from truth, which we Christians believe is not the affirmation of abstract principles, but an encounter with Christ. Truth enables us to confront the challenges of migration, ethical use of artificial intelligence, the protection of the earth, and more in our own personal experiences. It confronts those truths because we have something at our back that's never going to go away. The only permanent solution is one of faith and accepting God's grace through the sacrifice made in Christ. And when we're working towards that, and we're working towards making the world better on that front, we can do a lot bigger things. And that is the message I want to impart on you today. Super important stuff, guys. And so thank you for listening to that, because I know there's going to be a portion of the audience that's I don't want to hear this stuff. But it is very, very important. Purpose matters, and real purpose, real truth matters. And once you accept that, and once you see that, your life just changes for the better every single time. Now, I mentioned the New York Times kind of went at Jim Butcher in their article. Oh gosh, I've got the paywalled version up. I got to get the archive on here. I mentioned they kind of went at him over things on their site. I don't actually have the archive link right now. So, oh well, I'll just kind of summarize and paraphrase what they did, because it's interesting. They had a 6-hour interview with him, and towards the end of the piece, after all this sympathetic stuff of you need to not give into these suicidal images, of course, try to fight depression with purpose, so really good stuff on there. they do this whole paragraph where it's like, Jim Butcher has been criticized for like his female characters not being deep enough. It's like, why are you doing this? Stop. Like, I hate these stupid leftist organizations that do this kind of thing. And then they said he was like apologizing for having a Native American as a villain or something like that. They went full identity politics, just trying to slam him at the end of their piece, where it's like, we have a much bigger message here. Like, they can't help themselves every single time. And that's why you can't put your faith in the world or worldly institutions or worldly gratifications. They're not there for you. They're there for their own master. And so it is what it is on that front. So interesting stuff right here. Thanks for listening to this video, guys. You are very important. I appreciate you. Happy to have you join our community. Especially love the readers out there. I do have a Discord link in the description below. Newsletter. I try to reply to everybody who emails me back on my newsletter and stuff too, because I like to connect with you guys. Very important. And that connection is everything. We can connect and build ourselves something bigger here, and build ourselves something that's like a really good. And check out my book, guys, if you want to. It's if you enjoy The Aeronauts Windlass, I think you'll like my Adventures of Baron von Monocle. It's in the description below. Thank you for being here. We'll be back soon.